I'm going to go over your similar polygon practice. Again, there is no need for you to watch this entire video. Feel free to fast forward to anything that you might struggle with. So first of all, the scale factor of A, B, C, D, and there should be a D right here, 2, E, F, G, H. And since we're going from A, B, C, D to D to from one to the other, sorry, you always want to put A, B, C, D on top. So 8 is between A and D, and A and D are the first and last letters. So the first and last letters are E and H, which means it goes with that number. So whenever we set up the scale factor, it'll be 8 over 6, but that reduces because you can divide both of those by 2. So it'll be 4 over 3. So you can either write it as a fraction or you can write it as a ratio, but both of those are correct. Then to figure out your scale factor for each of these, we need to figure out what corresponds to what. And these are actually set up where the similar pieces are next to each other. That's what we found whenever we looked at AD and EH. In other words, the yellow ones. So these are the ones that go together. So for EF, you would do, first of all, it's always going to be your ABCD over your EFGH. Just to keep it straight, I typically will always write it just to make sure I always set it up correctly. So we found that the scale factor is 4/3. And then if we're doing EF, those are the pink ones. So 25 over X and cross multiply. So for X is equal to 25 times 3, which is 75. Divide that by 4. And you'll get a decimal, and that's okay. And we're going to put it over here on EF. That is 18.75. And then you do it again. 4/3 is equal to, and now we're going to do FG, which is the green ones. So 12 over Y. Again, cross multiply. 4Y is equal to 3 times 12, which is 36. Divide by 4, and Y is 9, and so is FG. And lastly, we still set up 4 over 3 is equal to, and then we do the purple ones. So that's 20 over Z. Cross multiply, 4Z is equal to 3 times 20, which is 60. Divide both sides by 4. And Z is 15, but so is GH. So the perimeter of ABCD would be 25 plus 12 plus 8 plus 20, which ends up being 65. And then EFGH is 6 plus 18.75 plus 9 plus 15, which ends up being 48.75. And the ratio of the perimeters, so if we do 65 divided by 48.75, and you were to simplify that, it ends up giving you 4/3. If you were to divide it in a calculator, it would give you 1.33333, which is 4/3. But the thing to know is that the perimeter scale factor and then the regular scale factor should always match. We need to, each polygon is similar, and we need to find X and Y values. So we have to make sure that the corresponding sides are the same on both. 18 is between a 1 arc and a no arc, The thing between one arc and no arc is y. 30 is between one arc and two arc. The thing between one arc and two arc is 20 on this one. And then the sides that are left. All right, I'm always going to do, for me, the big one over the small one. You could flip that. It doesn't necessarily matter if you do big over small or small over big. You just need to always be consistent. So whichever way you choose to do it, you need to do it for all of the calculations. So we need to use the pink ones because those are the only ones that they both have numbers. So that's 30 over 20. And then you pick if you want to solve for x or y first. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to do x first, so 24 over x, because remember we have to do big over small. Cross multiply, that's 30. X is equal to 20 times 24, which is 480. Divide by 30. And x is 16. We'll do the same thing again, big over small. We're still going to use the 30 over 20 because that's the one that both sides have a number. And then we're going to solve for y. So those are our yellows. The big one is 18 and the small one is y. Cross multiply. You have 30y is equal to 18 times 20. Which is 360. Divide both sides by 30. And y is 12. Same thing on this one. We got to figure out what sides go together. And they're actually oriented the same. If you look, you got the one arc and the one arc, then the two arc and the two arc and the three arc and the three arc. So that actually helps whenever they're oriented the same because both left sides have to go together, both bottoms have to go together, and both right sides have to go together. And then that 24 is just thrown in there for extra. You don't need it. So we always need to set up the sides that both have numbers, which in this case are yellow. They're the ones that both have numbers. I'm going to also still do big over small, which means I'm going to have 18 over 8. And then I need to solve for x, which are the pink ones. So 28 is the big one and x is the small one. Cross multiply, 18x is equal to 8 times 28, which is 224. Divide both sides by 18, which is 12.4 repeating, but we're just going to do 12.4. And then we do the same thing for y. So it's still going to be 18 over 8. And then we do our greens. The big green is 14. The smaller green is y. Cross multiply. 18y is equal to 8 times 14, which is 112. Divide both sides by 18. And y is 6.2 repeating, so just 6.2. All right, triangle ABC is similar to DEF. Find the value of x and y. What is the sum of the perimeters of the triangles? So this is going to be solved the same way as the other one. AB goes with DE, so they're all oriented correctly. BC goes with EF. And remember, the way that I know that is AB are the first two letters, so they go with the first two letters. So same thing as we did with congruent triangles. BC goes with EF, same as congruent triangles. And then 16 and 12. All right, I'm still going to do big over small. Just for consistency, you guys could do small over big. You would get the exact same answer. We need to use the side that has two numbers. So for that, it's green, and the big one is 16. The small one is 12. And then let's find x. So the big one, and that's yellows. The big one is 8, and the small one is x. Cross multiply. 16 times x is 16x. And then we have 8 times 12, which is 96. Divide both sides by 16. X is 6. And then we do the same thing for the y's. So we still use 16 over 12. And my y's are the pink ones. My big one is y, and my small one is 9. Cross multiply, 12y is equal to 9 times 16, which is 144. Divide 12 on both sides. Y is 12. All right, so the sum of the perimeters, which just means we would add both perimeters together. So y right here is 12, x right here is 6, so we're just going to add them together. So for ABC, my perimeter is 16 plus 8 plus 12, which ends up giving me 36. And then my little one is 6 plus 9 plus 12, which ends up giving me 27. So the sum of them is 36 plus 27, which is 63. Sum of the perimeters, and that's your answer. All right, quadrilateral ABCD is similar to EFGH. Find the value of X, Y, and Z. What is the perimeter of each figure? So same process. Let's see if they are oriented the same. AB should go with EF. AB goes with EF. It looks like yes, they are. So that means the tops go together, the rights go together, and the bottoms go together. I'm still going to do big over small. But again, you could flip it. You would get the exact same answer. We need to deal with the sides that have our numbers first. So 8 and 6. And let's start with x's, which are green. My big green one is 5. My small one is x. Cross multiply. 8 times x is 8x. 6 times 5 is 30. Divide both sides by 8. And x is 3.75. Same thing, 8 over 6. And this time we're going to do y's, which my y's are the pink ones. My big pink is 4. My small one is y. Cross multiply, 8y is equal to 6 times 4, which is 24. Divide by 8. And y is 3. Same thing, 8 over 6. And now we're going to do our z's, which are yellow. My big yellow is z. My small yellow is 2. Cross multiply, 6 times z is 6z. 8 times 2 is 16. Divide both sides by 6. And 16 divided by 6 is 2.666, or 2.67. Or you could do 2.7. That's quite all right as well. I'm going to just leave it as 2.7 because everything else has pretty much been 2 decimal points. Sorry, 1. All right, perimeter of my big one. 2.7 plus 8 plus 5 plus 4. Whenever I add all that together, my perimeter is 19.7. My second one is 2 plus 3 plus 3.75 plus 6. So when I add all those together, my perimeter is 14.75. And those are my answers. For the figures above, the sum of the measures of A and C equals the sum of which two angle measures of quadrilateral EFGH. So A goes with E. Or I should say equal, not congruent. Congruent only happens when it's not a measure. And then the measure of angle C is equal to, let's see, C is the third letter, so my third letter over here is G. Two rectangles are similar. The length of the small rectangle is 14. Oh, is 4. And the length of the big rectangle is 12. The perimeter of the smaller rectangle is 28. Was the perimeter of the larger? So up here, you can remember that we found that the perimeter and the scale factor are going to be the same. So we use the exact same scale factor to figure out perimeters, which means we just set up a regular cross multiply. So I'm going to do big over small because I normally do. And this says length of the small perimeter is 4. And the length of the big, the length of the small rectangle. The length of the big rectangle is 12. The perimeter of the smaller one is 28, and we're trying to find the perimeter of the bigger one. So cross multiply for x, and then 12 times 28 is 336. Divide both sides by 4. And that gives you 84. All right, the ratio of the height of CDE to the height of a similar triangle FGH is 3 to 5. So let's do CDE and then FGH. And they said it's 3 to 5. The perimeter of FGH is 25. Find the perimeter of CDE. Cross multiply. 5 times x is 5x. 3 times 25 is 75. Divide by 5 on both sides. And x is 15. And don't forget your centimeters. If two parallelograms are similar with a ratio of 1/4, so I guess this one will be small over big. And I'm only changing it this time because that's the way that the ratio is written. So 1/4. And the side of the smaller one is 8 inches. What is the measure of the side of the other? Cross multiply. 1 times x is just x. And 4 times 8 is 32 inches. A rectangle is 8 foot long and 4 feet wide. We'll do, oh, wait. If the model of the rectangle was made smaller by a ratio of 1/4, then what would the perimeter of the model be? Okay, so we're going to do original over model. And they just told us that it's 1/4. For the perimeter, we're going to need both of the sides. So let's deal with the 8 on the original. Oh, wait, this is not right. Hold on. They're reducing it by 1/4 because it's making it smaller. So this one's the original, and this one's the model. Right, because if the original is 4, the model would have to be 1 in order for it to be smaller. So the original is 8, and we're trying to figure out how long that length is. 4 times x is 4x. 1 times 8 is 8. Divide both sides by 4. And that means that it would be 2 feet long. And then same thing again, 1/4. And we would do x over 4 this time, cross multiply. 4x is equal to 1 times 4 is 4. Divide both sides by 4. And that means that it would be 1 foot long, 1 foot wide. So the perimeter would be 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, which would be 6 feet. What is the scale factor for the following similar figures? What would be the scale factor of the perimeter? So remember, the perimeter is going to be the same as any of the sides. And because the small one goes first, it goes on top. So 4 over 20. But both of these are divisible by 4, which means that my scale factor would be 1/5. And it, of course, would be the same for the perimeter as well. This one's 1.5 over 4.5. And whenever we reduce those, by the way, you can use a calculator to do this. You can do 1.5 divided by 4.5. Don't forget my calculators are at the front of the room. 1.5 divided by 4.5. And then you would press math. Enter, enter. You would press enter twice. And it would put it into a reduced fraction for you, which is super helpful. And that ends up giving you 1/3. And then 6 over 42. Those are both divisible by 6, which gives you 1 over 7. And same thing, even these, you could do 6 divided by 42, math, enter, enter, and it would tell you 1/7. Find all possible values of x. Okay, so it says that FG goes with JK, FG goes with JK, and which means that these two are going to go together. So I'm going to set up my problem as FGH over JKL. I'm going to do yellows first. So that's 3x plus 2 over 5x minus 2. And then FGH's pink is 5x over 7x. We need to cross multiply. So 5x times 5x minus 2 is equal to 7x times 3x plus 2. Distribute all of this. 5x times 5x is 25x, and then 5x times a negative 2 is negative 10x. 7x times 3x is 21. Oh, this is squared. Sorry. 21x squared. 7x times 2 is 14x. Subtract 21x squared from both sides. And we're going to subtract 14x on both sides. These cancel. And that gives me 4x squared minus 24x is equal to 0. Now there are multiple ways to do this. Your key does it a little bit different, but this is the way this is just a way to combine all the like terms. I'm going to kind of do it, well, I'm going to do it the way of the key. That's actually a little bit easier. I shouldn't have moved these 24s. Sorry, I'm adding an extra step by moving the 24 back over. So 4x squared is equal to 24x. Let's get rid of 4x on both sides. And so what this does is it gets rid of the 4, and it gets rid of only one of the x's. So this becomes just an x and not an x squared. So I'm only left with just x. 24 divided by 4 is 6, and x over x is just 1. So that means that x is 6. Hopefully that made sense. You won't have a problem this hard on your test, by the way. All right, same process. these sides go together and these go together. So 7x over 9x is equal to 8x minus 1 over 10x plus 1. Cross multiply. 7x and then 10x plus 1 is equal to 9x and then 8x minus 1. Distribute all of this. And that gives me 7 times 10 is 70. X times x is x squared. 7 times 1 is 7. And don't forget your x. 9 times 8 is 72. X times x is x squared. And then 9x times negative 1 is just negative 9x. I'm going to move this 70x squared over. I'm going to kind of repeat what I did last time. 7x is left over here, and that gives me 2x squared minus 9x. And I'm going to not add 9x to both sides, which gives me 16x is equal to 2x squared. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 2x, which gets rid of the 2 and one of the x's. So only x is left over here. 16 divided by 2 is 8, and x divided by x is just 1. So x is 8. That's the end of this practice.